You're listening to a production of the National Media Archive. To learn more or volunteer, go to nationalmediaarchive.com.
Imagine you're glued to your favorite crime drama. The victim's discovered, detectives scramble, and suddenly everyone wants to know, when did this person die? Have you ever wondered how police pin down that crucial window? Let's pull back the curtain on the real science behind the time of death, the forensic clockwork that sets the stage for every murder investigation. This isn't just television magic. In fact, real experts rely on a blend of observation and biology to estimate those vital hours, and it's a lot less precise and a lot more fascinating than you might think. Now, you might be thinking, isn't time of death just the second the heart stops? Not quite. Forensic scientists talk about a time frame, not a pinpointed moment. It's more like an educated guess, pieced together from a body's physical changes. Let me tell you a story. In a real case, a forensics team arrived at a scene. The victim's body felt cool and muscles were stiff, but the skin showed subtle color changes. Each clue built a timeline like puzzle pieces falling into place. So, how do they do it? The answer lies in 4 key post-mortem science-observable physical processes that transform the body over 24 to 48 hours after death. Ready to break them down? Let's dive into the first, the fading pallor of life. Stick with me, because as we explore each sign, you'll see how forensics turns biology into detective work. Let's start with pallor mortis, first post-mortem sign. Within 15 to 30 minutes after death, the body begins to lose its natural color. Why? The heart stopped pumping, so blood isn't circulating to the outer tissues anymore. Picture a garden hose, turn off the water, and everything dries up fast. This sudden paleness, called pallor, is caused when blood settles away from the skin and the capillary estony blood vessels empty out. It's as if the body's color gets washed out, giving that unmistakable pale, waxy look we associate with death. You might ask, does this help pinpoint the exact time? Not really. Pallor mortis happens quickly, so it only tells investigators that death occurred within the last half hour or so. Still, it's a crucial early clue. If the skin's still pink, death was likely very recent. If it's pale and cool, investigators know they're looking at a slightly older scene. So, pallor mortis sets the forensic clock ticking. But to get a clearer estimate, experts need more like the body's cooling curve, or what we call algor mortis. Next on the timeline is algor mortis, gradual cooling of the body after death. Humans are homotherms. We maintain a steady core temperature around 37°C using a balance of heat production and blood flow. But once the heart stops, this regulation ends. The body starts matching the surrounding temperature, like a cup of coffee left on the counter. In the first hour, the body temperature drops about 2 degrees Celsius, then about a degree each hour after that. This process is driven by metabolic cessation, the halt of internal chemical reactions, and thermal equilibrium, the body equalizing with its environment. Now, you might protest, can't we just measure the temperature and do the math? Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Algor mortis is influenced by room temperature, humidity, clothing, and even body size. A bundled up victim in a cold basement cools differently than someone found outside in summer. Still, measuring body temperature gives investigators a ballpark. Was death recent or several hours ago? Combined with other clues, it narrows the window. But temperature alone won't crack the case. So, let's move to the next post-mortem signone that literally stiffens the plot, rigor mortis. Rigor mortis, Latin for stiffness of death, is where things get really interesting. After death, muscles go through 2 phases. First, they relax in what's called primary flaccidity. Then, within hours, they stiffen dramatically. Why does this happen? Let's break it down. Muscles contract and relax thanks to molecules, actin and myosin cells' tiny motors. In life, they need a chemical called ATP, the energy current cytodetach after each contraction. But after death, ATP production stops and muscles get stuck, locking the body in place. Imagine a zipper jammed halfway without ATP. The zipper can't move and the muscles can't relax. Rigor mortis begins in the eyelids and fingers within 2 hours, spreads to larger muscles, and peaks after about 12 hours. Then, as the body breaks down further, stiffness fades. That's secondary flaccidity. Now you might wonder, can we use rigor mortis like a stopwatch? To an extent, yes, investigators check which muscles are stiff to estimate time since death. It's more reliable than temperature, since it's less affected by the environment. But it's not foolproof. Illness, age, or temperature can speed up or slow down rigor mortis. Still, it's a crucial part of forensic timelines. Let's zoom in on the microscopic level. After death, cells begin autolysis, self-digestion triggered by digestive enzymes. This is where rigor mortis and muscle decay really unfold. Enzymes break down cell membranes, letting calcium ions flood muscle fibers and trigger contraction. Without oxygen, muscle cells rely on stored glycogen to make a little ATP, but it runs out fast. The actin-myosin bonds stay locked, causing rigidity. Over time, as enzymes keep breaking things down, the muscles finally lose structure, rigor fades, and the body softens again. You might ask, does this always happen at the same rate? Not at all. Factors like temperature, remember thermal inertia, and the person's health can dramatically change how fast these changes unfold. Forensic scientists combine biochemical clues with physical ones to build a fuller timeline. It's like assembling a jigsaw puzzle with each piece narrowing the time frame. So, the next time you see a detective check for stiffness, remember, they're reading a cellular story written in real time. Now, let's talk about livor mortis, pooling of blood under gravity's pull. After the heart stops, blood no longer circulates and begins to settle in the lowest parts of the body. This creates purplish-red patches on the skin, known as post-mortem hypostasis. This process starts within 15 to 30 minutes, becomes visible after 2 hours, and stabilizes by 6 hours. After 8 to 12 hours, the color deepens as hemoglobin breaks down. The science here? Blood cells sink through tiny vessels, accumulating wherever gravity pulls like sand in an hourglass. But there's more. If a body is moved before livor mortis fixes, the pattern changes. That gives clues about whether the scene was staged or the victim repositioned. Forensic teams look for these telltale marks, sometimes called contact pallor, where blood can't settle due to pressure. You might be wondering, can the color or pattern reveal cause of death? Absolutely. Intense purple in the fingertips may mean the body was upright. Blood pooling on the back? The victim likely died lying down. Livor mortis is a silent witness. Its patterns, when read correctly, help reconstruct not just when, but sometimes how a death occurred. Every good crime scene investigator knows. Context is everything. Temperature, humidity, clothing, and even the surface the body rests on can change the timeline. For example, a body wrapped in blankets cools slower. That's called insulative delay. On a hot day, decomposition speeds up. Think of it as nature hitting fast forward. Humidity matters. Too dry air slows decay, while dampness accelerates it by encouraging bacterial growth. Investigators record these details because they can explain why one body cools or stiffens faster than another. Now, you might ask, does moving the body affect these signs? Definitely. Shifting a victim before stiffening sets in, or after livor mortis has fixed, leaves telltale clues like mismatched blood pooling or inconsistent muscle stiffness. Forensic scientists must be part detective, part meteorologist, and part biologist. Every environmental detail is another piece of the death puzzle. So the next time you see a detective check a window or touch a radiator, remember they're factoring in all the hidden variables. Putting it all together is both science and art. No single postmortem sign gives a perfect answer. Instead, forensic experts synthesize clues: the color of the skin, degree of stiffness, temperature loss, and blood pooling patterns. This is called multi-factor analysis. Why not just use a formula? Because so many variables like illness, drugs, or environment can change the pace of postmortem changes. Experts use protocols, reference charts, and their own experience to draw a timeline. Now, you might wonder, can't technology do this better? Some labs use forensic thermometry digital temperature readouts, but even high-tech tools can't replace hands-on assessment. It's a blend of quantitative and qualitative clues. Let me tell you about a famous case. A body was found with fixed livor mortis and partial rigor. The detective used both signs plus the chilly room temperature to estimate death had occurred 10-12 hours earlier. That window broke the case. So, when you see experts debate timelines on TV, remember, they're balancing science, experience, and a little bit of educated guesswork. If you're waiting for the big moment where the detective announces time of death, 10:03 p.m., I've got news it almost never happens. Real-life forensics deals in time ranges, not pinpointed moments. Why? Because biological processes vary wildly. Factors like illness, age, body fat, and even clothing can speed up or slow down post-mortem changes. A cold room might delay rigor mortis, while fever before death speeds it up. This concept is called biological variability. You might ask, does this mean time of death is just a guess? Not exactly. It's an informed estimate based on layered evidence. Forensic experts always communicate a window, say, between 2 and 4 a.m. So don't be fooled by TV's false precision. Real science is honest about uncertainty. That's why prosecutors and defense lawyers alike scrutinize the forensic timeline in court. In the end, it's about building the best possible story from imperfect evidence and being transparent about the limits. Let's peek into the courtroom. When forensic scientists testify, their job isn't just to deliver facts, it's to make complex timelines understandable to judges and juries. They use clear language, diagrams, and sometimes even 3D models to show how the evidence fits together. The terms post-mortem interval and time since death come up often. Experts explain how rigor mortis, algor mortis, and livor mortis overlap, and how external factors can shift the timeline. It's called forensic communication. Now, maybe you're thinking, can juries really grasp all this science? It's a challenge. That's why good experts use analogies like comparing body cooling to a cup of coffee or even simple charts showing how muscle stiffness progresses. Let me share a tip. Whenever you watch a trial scene, notice how the best experts simplify without dumbing down. That's the art of turning technical evidence into compelling, understandable testimony. Ultimately, it's about making sure justice is served not just with evidence, but with clarity and honesty. So, the next time you're watching a crime show and the detective announces the time of death, you'll know what's really going on behind the scenes. You're equipped with the big four: pallor mortis, algor mortis, rigor mortis, and livor mortis, and the factors that shift the story. You might even spot the gaps. Maybe the body's too stiff for the timeline or the blood pooling doesn't match the position. Go ahead, be that person who points out the forensic plot holes. And remember, while TV makes it look simple, real forensic science is a blend of biology, physics, chemistry, and a dash of detective intuition. It's a constantly evolving field. New technology, better models, and more precise methods are always on the horizon. If you're curious, keep digging. There's a whole world of forensic pathology, entomology, and even digital forensics waiting to be explored. Maybe the next big case will be cracked by someone just like you. Thanks for joining me on this forensic journey. Until next time, keep your eyes sharp, your science strong, and never stop questioning what you see on screen.